Hi, I'm Lola and I'm the Programmes Manager here at the Humanitarian Aid Relief Trust, also known as HART. Now I'm here to tell you a little bit about what we do, and later you'll hear about how you can get involved. So HART was founded 16 years ago to support people who are often trapped behind closed borders, cut off from international media attention, and suffering silently from oppression and persecution. We work in 8 countries around the world and encourage the communities that we support to determine their own priorities for aid, be that educational support, infant and maternal healthcare support, or emergency relief. These are just a few examples of our projects. HART is very proud to partner with in-country organisations to support their own local communities, establishing aid programmes that are led by local people in active conflict zones such as Syria, post-conflict areas still devastated by war, such as Uganda, and areas where people are marginalised and exploited, such as Burma. So thank you very much for having us today. We're really excited to share stories from some of the communities that we support and give you a bit of an insight into the work that we do in some of the most challenging contexts around the world today. We're also excited to announce the launch of the 2020-21 HART Prize, our annual competition to get young people involved in global human rights issues. So today you'll hear from myself, my colleague Joe Russell, a trustee of HART, and Georgia, our HART Prize intern. Firstly, I wish to tell you about the lives of some of the children that I've met in South Sudan. South Sudan is the world's youngest country, and approximately 2 million of its children are currently out of school. South Sudan currently has the worst rates of female literacy anywhere in the world. Since the South Sudanese civil war began in 2013, 30% of primary schools have suffered at least one attack, and 48% are no longer in operation. The sad reality remains that a girl in South Sudan is more likely to die in pregnancy or childbirth than she is to complete primary school. Just think about that for a second. With that in mind, our partners in South Sudan try hard to level the playing field in ensuring that girls get the same access to education as boys. For example, HART partner Naid School in South Sudan has an unusually equal split of girls and boys that attend the school. This is due to our partner, Archbishop Moses Deng Bol, who provides free meals for girls at some schools within his diocese and doesn't always ask for school contributions from all female students in an effort to encourage more families to send their daughters to school without seeing them as financial burdens. In 2019, HART launched a project to support 670 students at Naid School through constructing 3 new classrooms and repairing the roofs of 3 existing classrooms. The area around Naid School has suffered decades of military attacks and bombings by their own government during the civil war that lasted 16 years, when South Sudan was still a part of Sudan before they split in 2011. As a result of these relentless attacks, 2 generations of children were prevented from attending school. Fast forward a decade, and the current civil war in South Sudan has resulted in severe underfunding for education. As a result, there were not enough functioning classrooms to accommodate all of the students at Naid School, and teachers resorted to teaching their students outside, underneath large trees within the school compound. As you can imagine, studying underneath trees doesn't work when it rains, and given how South Sudan spends half of its year in the rainy season, you can imagine just how much school these students were missing. HART is hopeful that its classroom project will increase the quality, reliability and accessibility of education in Naid, and allow the school to provide the tools that its students need to build their own paths of success. Through annual visits to partners in South Sudan, we repeatedly hear how education is the main priority for children and adults. They all want an opportunity to study their way out of poverty. I wish I had known back when I was at school just how lucky I am to have had a roof over my classroom and the privilege to attend school all year round. We've all been guilty of taking school for granted, but we don't realise just how much of a privilege it is to be able to do that.
My name is Joe Russell, and many of you will have met me before because I'm often involved in HART Prize presentations. But today, I'm going to transport you to the orange groves of northern Thailand. So these orange groves are owned by the Thai mafia and produce 3 crops of high quality oranges every year. In fact, they export many of these oranges, so you could well have eaten them. And today I'm going to introduce you to some of the children who live there. Let's start with these 4 brothers and sister who all live together in one room with their parents. And here it is. And here are the children having their heads shaved on the day that I visited them because they all had head lice. And in the orange groves, this is the only solution if you have head lice. In fact, there are 8 families who live in this part of the orange grove, and they live in 8 rooms, which are all pretty similar, all squashed together. This is an example of one, and another, and another. They live in extremely squalid and cramped conditions. No toys, no phones, no electricity, no running water. This is their drinking water. It looks pretty dirty, doesn't it? So it's not surprising that they often have stomach upsets. Let's jump to another family about a mile away. This family has a handicapped child who's not allowed to go to work with his mum. So his 9-year-old sister takes care of him all day, every day, instead of going to school. The parents work really long days in the orange groves, often from 4 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. So that's a very long day for a 9-year-old. This baby has never seen a doctor. He was born in the orange groves and has no birth certificates and no ID papers. He's illegal. He doesn't really exist. The baby was suffering badly from mosquito bites, so they had rigged up this mosquito net, but very sadly it had a lot of holes in it, so it couldn't have been very effective. There are thousands of acres of orange groves with hundreds of families living there, all in air filled with chemical sprays, which make the orange groves very productive, but it's very bad for the health of the people living there, obviously. So let's think about what it's like to have a baby in the orange groves. So my daughter, Emily, who lives in London, has just had a baby, and she has so much equipment that we just take for granted. A cot, a Moses basket, a buggy. This baby only has a cot made of rope and a piece of sheet. And there are no nappies here. Can you imagine having a baby around with no nappies? And what about washing? Well, if you work 15 hours a day in the orange groves, it's hard to find time to wash clothes. And then there's no running water and no clean water and no washing powder. And cooking, well, this is a makeshift kitchen, but the diet of these families is made up of rice and, of course, oranges. Rice is all they can afford. So why are these families living here? They're migrants. They have fled from Burma, or Myanmar as it's now called, where there is fighting between ethnic groups and the Burmese army. So they have fled from their homes and their land and their country because they're either afraid of being caught in the crossfire from the fighting, or because there are so many landmines on their land, or because they're afraid that their children might be forcefully recruited into one of these armies. They are really afraid of the Burmese army, their own country's army. So they have been driven away from their land and their homes and their country because of their own government's army. They arrived in Thailand illegally and were desperate for work. So the minimum wage in Thailand is £8 a day, but the mafia know they're desperate and only offer them £4 a day. And then on top of that, they have to pay the police £2 a day so that they're not deported. They have no papers and no right to be there. They are trapped on the orange farms as there are roadblocks everywhere on the roads with soldiers checking ID papers. They don't have ID papers, so they are effectively slaves on these orange groves. And by the way, did you know that there are more slaves in the world today than at any other time in history? So that might be a good topic to research for your HART prize entry. And there are a few thousand of them here in the orange groves who have no voice of their own. But this lady here, Kaming, and her two colleagues, Ong and Ang, have made a huge difference to the lives of these children. They persuaded the monks in this monastery to let them set up a nursery for 2 to 5-year-olds in one of the monastery buildings. Here are Kaming, Ong and Ang in the nursery. When the children arrive in the morning, they shower them, they change their clothes and wash the ones they're in. They then play with them, sing, dance, educate them, and very important, feed them a huge nutritious lunch with the protein and vegetables these children miss out on at home. They are supported by HART's partner SWAN, which stands for Shan Women's Action Network. Sadly, the budget for the lunches has been withdrawn, and so we at HART are working hard to raise this money. If you have time, I hope you will have a look at our website at the work of SWAN. They provide food, education, healthcare, and women's empowerment for the ethnic minorities in Burma and also migrants like the people in the orange groves who have fled from Burma to Thailand. So when you next eat lunch, please spare a thought for these magnificent children in the orange groves of Thailand. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Georgia and I'm coordinating this year's HART Prize for Human Rights. Now, this is a really exciting competition that I want to encourage you all to enter because it is a great way to engage in global events and to learn so much more about countries that you might not even have heard of. It's a great shame that I can't be with you here today to launch this prize in person, but I'm going to take you through a presentation which will introduce you to the competition and let you know about how to enter and what fantastic prizes we have on offer for you to win. I'm going to give you a brief outline of the competition, the prizes, and what resources we put together to help you in your research. I'm also going to show you some of the previous prize-winning entries and go through the all-important terms and conditions. So, what is the HART Prize? Our challenge to you is to create a creative or written piece of work responding to the political, humanitarian, or human rights issues in any of the countries in which HART works. So these countries are Sudan, South Sudan, Burma, Syria, Nagorno-Karabakh, Nigeria, Uganda, and Timor-Leste. You can focus on one country or a theme which connects them all, such as human rights, poverty, and conflict. So we have 3 categories to our competition. The junior category is for 11 to 14-year-olds, the intermediate for 15 to 18-year-olds, and the senior category for 19 to 25-year-olds. First prize for the junior and intermediate categories is a £50 voucher, tea in the House of Lords with Baroness Cox, and a day's optional work experience with HART. Second and third prize is a £10 voucher. For the senior category, first prize is £150 cash, tea in the House of Lords with Baroness Cox, and a week's optional work experience with HART. Second and third prize is £50 cash. All prize winners will also receive a signed copy of Baroness Cox's biography. So now on to our creative competition. We would like you to produce a creative piece of work about the humanitarian situation or human rights issues in any of the countries in which HART works. You can use any medium you like, so you could create a painting, a sculpture, a short story or poem, a drawing, a video or a photograph. We accept anything that isn't an essay, so be as creative and imaginative as you can. So here are some of the previous winners. As you can see, each piece is of a very high artistic standard. But not only this, you can see the high level of research that each person has gone into. Each piece is very striking. Some of them are even quite unsettling, but this is a good thing because we want your work to provoke a reaction in us. So whether it shocks us, gives us goosebumps, or saddens us, we want to feel something from looking at your piece. So what we're looking for is an original piece of work, which shows strong artistic ability and has a powerful message. We'll be asking ourselves the questions: is there evidence of research? Does the piece raise awareness of a particular issue? Is the piece thought-provoking and memorable? Now on to our essay competition, and for this, we would like you to write an essay about the political, humanitarian and human rights issues facing those living in the countries in which HART works. So the word limit for the junior and intermediate categories is 800 words, and for the senior category, it's 1,200. We also ask that the senior essays are fully referenced, but footnotes or bibliography aren't included in the word limit. We're here to help, so we put together some useful resources for you, including country fact files and suggested essay titles that can be found on our website to assist your independent research. But please feel free to invent your own title if you wish. What we're looking for is a high quality written essay with a persuasive and strong argument. We want to see that you fully understand the political or humanitarian situation in your chosen country or countries. So, how do you enter? First, visit the HART website and under the banner Get Involved, click on the HART Prize for Human Rights tab. Then scroll down and you will see the competition documents for you to download and read. The application form is really important because every entry has to be submitted with one, otherwise it can't be processed. Then we have the information pack, which gives full details of the competition, and please read the terms and conditions before submitting your entry. Then we have the essay titles, which are there to give you inspiration, but please do feel free to create your own because we love hearing your own ideas. Then at the bottom, you'll find the country fact sheets, which outline the political and humanitarian situation of the countries where we work. But we encourage you to do your own research too, to further your understanding of your chosen country or countries. Then, once you've completed your creative piece or your essay, please email your entry and completed application form to heart.competition@heart-uk.org. If submitting a creative piece, please also send in photos or a video of your work, and we may ask you to send in the physical piece to our office in early 2021, depending on the COVID-19 situation. Very importantly, don't miss the deadline, which is 11:59 p.m, the 1st of March 2021. And again, COVID permitting, we will invite all entrants to an award ceremony to celebrate your fantastic work later on in March. So just to go through some important terms and conditions again, don't forget the deadline, which is the 1st of March 2021. All entrants must also be accompanied with a completed application form, which is to be found on our website. You can enter each competition, the creative and the essay, and you can also enter in a pair or a group, but you'll have to split the prize if you win. And all entrants will receive an electronic certificate. So thank you so much for your time today. I hope we've inspired you all to enter our competition. And if you have any queries, please don't hesitate to email me. We're really looking forward to seeing all your entries.